Welcome to the public hearing on an amendment, SB 15 amendment. It was a replace all non-germane amendment, so we required a public hearing. If you would please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance before we begin. Thank you. With that, we'll open the public hearing, and Representative Rhodes, as a co-sponsor, will be introducing the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Welcome back, everybody that was here yesterday without me. It's good to see you. I am State Representative Jennifer Rhodes. I represent Cheshire County District 17, which is Winchester, Richmond, Swansea, Troy, and Fitzwilliam. Today, I am introducing a replace all amendment that the chairman just told you, which was a bill for Senate Bill 15. This bill is looking to bring back hard labor into our criminal justice system. The bill overall has a 2-year effective date to give time for implementation, try to make sure we get everything worked out. At the end of the day, we have heard already a lot of concerns, a lot of people talking on the streets about exactly how this bill will look. I would like to remind everybody that the provisions that are in this legislation are things that people do every single day to support their families. Every single day, we have farmers, we have people that do construction work, we have people that do framing, concrete, you name it. So at the end of the day, this is by no means meant to be derogatory. However, there's also big concerns about the cost of living in New Hampshire. Instead of having anybody that is in prison simply looked at as a ward of the state, the way this bill is written will actually allow people to be productive members and contribute to the New Hampshire way of life and will actually help bring costs down. The work has to be done. I cannot really think of any better way to help bring the cost down and make that happen. Additionally, it is often said that there is nobody more dangerous than a person that has nothing to lose. It's actually quite hard to get yourself in trouble whenever you are being productive and you are being tired. So, at the end of the day, that is what this bill is looking to do overall. If a person chooses to not have the hard labor as part of their rehabilitation, then they will have 50% added on to the life of their sentence that will not be negotiable. There's also been talk about bringing back the death penalty. I don't know what that's going to look like. We have not seen those bills as of yet. I suspect they will all come into this committee, so we will hear about them. That bill, as you know, was vetoed, and that veto was overturned. So the likelihood is probably not great that it actually will return. However, if we have an alternative to that that is going to focus on the victims instead of just the perpetrator, that will help the victims feel a little bit more whole at the end of the day, because I can assure you, when a crime has been committed against you, you will never be whole again, and it does leave a mark for the rest of your natural born life. So, I don't know if you guys have all read this bill. I suspect that a lot of the questions that you have will be answered throughout the testimony from the people that are behind me. Additionally, the prime sponsor is here, and he would certainly be the expert when it comes to answering any of the questions that are here.
Thank you, Representative Rhodes. Questions for Representative Rhodes? Representative Muse.
One of the things that I'm curious about as I look at this bill is, as I understand it, under the New Hampshire Constitution, we can't do retrospective sentencing. So we're going to have people in places like the Secure Housing Unit up at the state prison who are currently sentenced for all of the crimes that are listed in this bill. My question for you is any thought been given to what having one group of prisoners coming in who would be sentenced to hard labor, and another group of prisoners who are not sentenced to hard labor living in the same area, what that would actually do in terms of trying to keep a lid on what always is a really volatile situation up there, having that inequity between two different groups of prisoners.
Thank you for the question. You're right. We can't go back and change what was done. What we can do is correct it going forward. At the end of the day, the prison system as a whole is meant to be a deterrent. So if you were thinking about doing one of these horrendous crimes that would make you have to be looking at a life of hard labor in prison, I would hope that it would make you think twice before you did it.
Thank you. And I think there's a representative from the DOC here who might be able to answer your question better with regard to the disparate between the people. There are currently, everyone in there is serving a different sentence for a different crime. So it really is just a question of how many people in management. Any further questions? Representative Scher.
Are you aware of, is it your understanding that right now people who are serving sentences in the prison are not working?
No, Representative, I'm sorry, thank you for the question. No, I do believe that there are work programs in the prison now.
And so what is meant by the term hard labor?
It's
Well,
defined in the bill, I
It
believe.
it is absolutely defined in the bill, and I actually think it's on whenever I read it, it's I think all over page 2.
B.
And how does that differ from what the jobs that people are currently working at the prison?
Representative Hughes, those questions will all be answered.
Scher.
Representative Shear, I'm sorry, those questions will all be answered for you.
One follow-up.
Yes, please.
Do you have an estimate of how much this bill will cost the Department of Corrections?
The Department of Corrections are behind us, and I do believe that is why there is a 2-year push-out note, and it is expected to be less than the cost of somebody on death row, which I think there was actually one person still, if I'm not mistaken. But it is actually on here, but you're going to have to give me a minute to find it, but our chairman might know it off the top of his head.
There's not a fiscal note yet, so we can't give an accurate accounting either way, although it's definitely going to be less than the $1 to $2 million per death penalty case. That's what I do know.
Mr. Chairman, I do believe that it is in here about if there were anything that would be needed to purchase, as in, vehicles, for safe transportation, so forth. And if I may, Mr. Chairman, something I wanted to say was one of the reasons also about the extended date is the fact that whenever somebody is taken in, there can be an intake assessment, right? Just as if somebody has to go, unfortunately, like they do not a district placement school. Many of these people have skills that will absolutely be able to be used. And as I said in the beginning, these are things that people do every single day.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Who else? We only have one. Okay, this is Jane Graham and Nick Duffy from the Department of Corrections.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jane Graham. I am the Communications and Legislative Administrator for the Department of Corrections, and to my right is Nick Duffy. He's the Director of Rehabilitative Services for the Department of Corrections. We're here today taking a neutral position on the bill, but do want to raise some concerns, especially with resources that we will need. Additional resources. We haven't had the opportunity to be able to go through and fully assess the amount of resources that we will need, but I want to talk a little bit about that today. Mr. Chair, I know you had a productive conversation with our commissioner and talked about giving us more flexibility to make determinations for security. Security is...
If I may,
Sure.
just, not to interrupt you, there is an amendment that's coming to this bill
Great.
that authorizes the commissioner to define what is hard labor within the prison system and to determine if it is safe enough to be performed based on staffing. In other words, if one day you have several officers call out sick or you're just, he can say no hard labor today. It's not safe for the public or for my officers. So he will have that absolute discretion and there will be rulemaking authority given.
Okay, wonderful. One of the concerns that we do have with this proposal is involving the transporting of individuals from our secure facilities into the community. Currently, we have individuals who do participate in work crews that are on lower security levels, C1 and C2. We received permission, and Nick can talk about this a bit more, from judges to allow them to work out in the community. But many of the individuals that are included in this legislation would be classified at levels of C3, which is general population or higher, due to their criminal history, their escape risk, and their potential threat to the public. Moving them into community settings would pose increased risks of escape, violence, and contraband introduction that we will need to determine how we can best mitigate those risks moving forward. Our current practice when we take individuals out of the facility, if they're C3, and actually C5 is a higher level of security, but we have 2 officers to 1 inmate every time we leave. So that's something that we would have to consider moving forward. As you all know, we did just take a $25 million hit in the most recent budget cycle. And for the department to enact this program, we would have to significantly expand our fleet of vehicles, which would all have to be outfitted for security purposes. And higher risk inmate crews would require armed supervision, meaning the department would have to procure extra firearms and enhanced security materials. We also are concerned with our vacancy rate. Right now, we're at a 47% vacancy rate amongst corrections officers, and we are working to try more recruitment initiatives. And I know we have a new commissioner, a new assistant commissioner. They're coming to the table with some ideas. But these are some things that we are concerned about moving forward as we look at implementation. I do want to give Director Duffy the chance to talk a little bit about, if it's okay with the committee, some of the work programs that we do have in the facility now and some of those considerations that we use with the folks that we supervise.
Could you tell us what your role is, Director Duffy?
My name is Nicholas Duffy. I'm the Director of Rehabilitative Services, and I oversee correctional industries, education and programming, case management, religious services, as well as the transitional work center, transitional housing units. So currently, obviously with correctional industries, it's what is considered a higher risk job because of some of the tools they're using. And so those jobs, there is a criteria that they have to go through in order to ensure safety in those areas. With staffing and the way it is currently, most of those shops, I'll give an example of the plate shop, which is a production shop, is that, and they're doing the license plates, is that we have one staff member, civilian staff member working in that shop, and then security will do rounds every few hours. So those areas are very, there's a lot of tools, there's a lot of sharp metals in those areas, and so ensuring that the people in those areas have done the right things while have been incarcerated, that they're not getting disciplinary is very important in those shops. When you move out to our transitional work centers, we do work crews currently. In 2024, I believe we did about 35,000 hours of community service work to the communities, and those crews are approved through the courts to be on work release, but they're not going out by themselves. They are either with an officer or a trained staff member who goes to police stations, and they're doing manual labor. They're doing yard work for communities, landscaping, construction work. We also have the building trades program that also does those things as well. We also have crews that work with, we partner with Department of Transportation that does, they'll go out with Department of Transportation and support their staff, ensuring that, helping with the road construction and different projects that they have. So yeah, if you have any questions, I'm more happy
Yeah, I'm
to
sure we
answer.
have a lot. Let me, I'll take privilege and start. So it's a privilege now to be a member of that work It's something you earn. It's not something that, you use as any kind of a punishment. Is that correct?
Yes, in those
Okay.
areas.
You and the inmates actually want to do that. It's not like you're not running short of people trying to get on those work programs, are there?
No, they want to work. I think most of them are excited to go out and work. So yes.
Okay. About how many inmates do you have in the work programs?
And so I guess in our correctional industry shops behind the walls,
Mhm.
I think we employ about 250 inmates at men's, and then 30 at women's, and I believe the number is about 60 at NCF. And then our transitional work center currently has around 90 individuals.
What about outside the walls? Is that
That's
that's a
90.
transitional
That's
work?
90, yes.
So there's about 90 inmates that work outside the walls doing road work or whatever, as you said.
Yeah, road work or through our correctional industries shops. Yeah.
Okay. Why is it limited to 90? Is that the limit, or is that just?
It's so part of it is the numbers of people who can get approval to go to
the
reduced
courts.
custody status and approval from the courts to say that they can be working in the community.
Okay. So if this statute were to be enacted, would you be able to delineate certain jobs that are seen as a privilege versus ones that are not quite so desirable to do? For example, the road work and the heat and things like that. Because under the statute as written, it would give you probably, based on your population now, around 1,100 people that you could put to work.
Yeah. So I guess I don't know in terms of that, because I think each individual is different. We have and I'll give you an example. Is we have our forestry program where they're cutting wood, splitting it, and they're doing that in the sun, and it's probably about 6.5 hours a day, 5 days a week that they're doing that currently. Obviously, they're getting breaks, and we're ensuring their safety when they're doing that. But there's some people who absolutely love doing that. So
Yeah.
I think part of it is people doing things with their hands and doing physical work is not
Desirable.
not is desirable for some people. So I think
Yeah.
that's hard to say, like,
Yeah.
to say, make a job undesirable is like I'm not
I don't
sure
think
how
the
to.
purpose would be to make it undesirable. It would be to make it just so that it is hard work. So
Yes.
some people enjoy hard work and some people don't. So,
Yeah.
how
So-
what is someone typically who's on a life without parole sentence do? Someone who's committed capital murder. What does their day entail?
So I think that depends on the individual and what job they've received, how long they've been incarcerated for. So we have plenty that are working within our shops, meaning like our wood shop. We have people who are life without parole in those shops who've been incarcerated for a long time. They've shown that their behavior has been above standard, and they've basically earned the right to work in a more secure environment. And so they work, I think it's about 6 or 7 hours a day, depending on how long the shop's open for, 5 days a week, and they're doing work for correctional industries, which we sell that furniture to the public.
They make also license plates? Is
Yeah.
that
So
correct?
we have quite a few working in our license plate shop,
I
our
have one of
sign
your
shops.
ashtrays when I used to smoke. It's actually pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah. So they they work in our industry shops. There's some that work in the kitchen, in our kitchens. Some that work in education, in various. So it's really what job they get,
Sure.
and where they go and their skill set.
Is it a choice? Can some of them say, no, I don't want to do any work?
So I guess they could say that they could have a preference. I don't know that it's a choice that they can't. If they don't work, then they would get disciplinary infractions.
So I thought it was a privilege to work.
A privilege to work in certain areas. So like the north, we call the North Yard, is a more secure area because of the tools we have there, because of the what's over there. So that they have to meet certain criteria in order to work in that area. But in order to work in general is not a privilege. They need to be working. We want all inmates to be working.
Excellent. So is every inmate, or, because I only asked you specifically about capital murder cases, is the entire prison population expected to do some work or not?
Yes, I think that there are limitations in terms of number of jobs that we have just because of staffing, because of resources, all of that kind of thing. But yes, the expectation is they're all working. And there's also something right now with disciplinary tickets, they can get something called extra duty as well. And so if you have extra duty hours, you don't get extra pay or anything for that, but you could have to, when it snows, they'll take people who have extra duty to shovel and do things like that.
And that's actually that's funny. Whoever came up with that was probably in the military, because that is Article 15. You will be doing extra duty. You're not. A question I have, and this is my last question, as far as coming up with work for people that would be hard labor, towns or cities like Manchester, for example, they have hundreds of fire hydrants that have to be shoveled out every snowstorm. If you had the transportation and the staffing, would that be something that the department could do?
Yeah, so I guess that depends on what level of custody they're in. Currently, right now, the city of Concord, we do that
Yeah.
a lot for with our transitional work center. We also do some bridges and stuff for the state. So we do help the fire department with those things currently now in Concord. That's just one of our officer ran crews does that. So to do it in other towns or cities, obviously would take more. You know, we only have one vehicle at our transitional
That's what I
work
said,
center,
given
so
that if you had the
yes,
equipment in the office.
so getting more of that, we could do more road crews in terms of what security level they are. That is something that needs to be looked at more deeply.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Representative Scher.
Something I want to point out before I start asking questions. The term capital murder refers to homicides for which someone is eligible for the death penalty. There is no capital murder charge in New Hampshire right now. So I think what we're talking about, and I think what the chair probably intends to refer to, is first degree murder, which is where there's a mandatory life without parole sentence.
Is it still in statute, except for there is no death penalty? The term capital murder is still.
I don't believe so. The term capital murder in the statute refers to when somebody's eligible for the death penalty, when there's a death penalty. So I know
Since the death penalty has been removed, capital murder and first degree murder became synonymous. Is that correct?
I think it's just first degree murder. I
Yeah.
don't think capital murder exists. And I think we all understand what you're talking
Yeah.
about, but I think as a public matter, it's misunderstood when it's referred to capital murder, just for what it's worth.
And, no, you're correct, because capital means capital punishment, which we don't have. So you are correct. So first degree murder. Thank you.
And again, I apologize. I probably have a number of questions. Understanding that this is a relatively new proposal, and the department is still sorting it out, and I get that. And you said you have 47% vacancy rate.
Yes.
So at your current staffing, if you were to have hard labor for people with the crimes that are identified in here, which are more serious crimes, my understanding is those people coming in would be classified at least as classification 3.
At least, yes.
It may be higher than that, maybe
Yes.
4. So if the classification, is it category 3 or classification 3?
It's C3 classification.
C3.
3.
Okay,
Yep.
let's use C3.
3, 4,
If it were,
5.
if somebody were at C3 level, how many for one individual, how many more resources would be needed to put them outside the walls?
I think the hard part about that question is this is kind of unknown territory for us.
Yeah.
So, like I said in the beginning, with a C3 inmate, when we're taking them to the hospital, we have 2 officers on that one. if we were to have work crews with several C3 inmates, I don't know what that would look like. Having it be one-to-one is likely not feasible, but we also want to keep public safety in mind. You're dealing with it, and then if you're asking if the intent is for us to also be taking C4 and C5 inmates out from behind the wall, that's a much different conversation.
Let me try the question this way, and I understand what you're saying, and I understand your so with a C1, C2 work crew outside the walls, how many correctional officers accompany that work crew?
So it depends on the work crew. If they have approved work release, sometimes we don't need any officers. It can just be trained staff member that does that. So with C1s are actually our lowest classification. They're on full work release, meaning they can go and get a job at the local Dunkin' Donuts or business without any supervision. The C2s is the transitional work center that what I was talking about with those crews. And either we have an officer with them or a trained staff member.
So the C1s and C2s are at the tail end of their sentence, and,
Yes.
and as you use the word, they're transitional.
Yes.
So for a work crew of 10, and you may not be able to answer this, but for a work crew of 10 C3s out shoveling fire hydrants in Manchester, put aside the transportation need, that costs for more buses.
Yeah.
Can you give me an estimate of how many officers would be needed for a C3 work crew of
Yeah.
10?
So I think that's a hard question to answer right now without us reviewing this further. Again, I think that depends on what type of individuals are in that crew, what risks each of those individuals have. Again, if there are 10 people who all are life in prison, that would be much different than 10 who have 5-year sentences. So
I think
that
it's
really
important to
depends.
note, the statute as written would give the commissioner the authority to define this entire program because it's the new program. So speculating now there's no way you can answer it because he's going to come up with it
Yes.
when he does, if this
Absolutely.
were to become
Yeah.
law. And also you would look to other states, would you not, that already have this hard labor and to see how they're doing it? Do you commonly look
Yes.
at best practices from
Yeah,
other
so-
states?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where it's a hard distinction. I'm just trying to paint that like each crew would need to be evaluated differently and how we monitor that. Obviously, this policy change that would need to take place, and the commissioner would have to, and we rely on other states, other areas that do these types of initiatives. And I think that the states are kind of do things very differently, and there's some that allow for C3 levels to go in the community without any supervision. But it really depends on the state and the what they're sentenced for, and so there's so many a variety of factors. It's hard to make that determination here.
Yeah, fair to say that to implement a C3, C4 out in the community program, it would cost more than what it costs for the current C1 and C2, putting aside transportation issues.
Yes. Yes.
Can we get an explanation of what, we're getting all these Cs and the public is not going to know what that means. Is that related to what they did or is it related to their behavior inside?
It's not necessarily. When people come in, they're evaluated. So some people start off at a higher classification level, and that can be based on their crime, right? They'll start higher than somebody who came in with a lower level felony for theft or drugs. If they're coming in with a serious violent felony, they will likely start off in our highest classification. And then you have the opportunity to move down through that system based on your behavior within the institution. So when you asked your question before about what a typical day looks like for someone who's convicted of first degree or capital murder, it looks different depending on the individual and how they are able to function within the prison society, like their behavior essentially. So 5 is the highest,
Yeah.
5 all the way down to 1.
And then just a quick clarification is C2 and C1 C2, you have to be 3 years or less to your minimum to be even classified at C2, and then C1 is 1 year or less to your minimum sentence.
Is it fair to say that if this were to become statute, the commissioner would probably look at that classification system and maybe re-engineer it a little bit based on what the requirements were?
I think the ones and twos, we would probably need some legislation for that because right now we have a court process that we have to follow to use those. We don't really have discretion there.
Do you have the legislation in front of you?
Yes.
I'm looking at page 2, lines 15 through 18.
Yes, sir.
My understanding, and of course, I'm very old and was a public defender now decades ago, so my appreciation of the system, it may be a little dated. But my understanding is the prison already has a prison industries program. Is that right?
We do.
So perhaps a conversation needs to be had about why we're establishing an industries program since we already have one. And I'm confused by that part of the legislation.
Was that a question? Because ask the question.
The question, yeah.
Sounded like testimony.
So thank you all for your support in this. Do you know what the difference is between the industries program identified in lines 15 through 18 and the current prison industries program?
I guess my assumption was it was this, they're not reestablishing one, but again, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Would it be possible that it means that since this is a whole new program, to make sure that the industries program is not taken away?
Yeah.
That could be possible. Thank you.
Can you tell from the legislation whether people who are sentenced to hard labor, if this were to pass, whether they would get paid or not?
It's in this. It's in there.
From how I read it, they would be paid at the rate that we currently pay inmates at, and no more than that rate.
Okay. And would they have a choice as to whether to do this or not?
I believe in this, it does allow that, but their sentence is modified.
Part of their sentence.
Yeah, you don't have to answer questions if it's in the statute. It's in there clearly. Matter of fact, they're allowed to choose what I'm reading when they're sentenced. They can choose whether or not to take hard labor, and I believe the sponsor said that when she introduced it.
No, my question was whether when they're sentenced to hard labor, they could choose what kind of hard labor.
No, I don't believe that's in there.
I don't see that in here.
Okay.
Let me go.
I have no additional
ahead,
questions.
keep going.
I have no questions.
Oh, okay. Further, Representative Muse.
In the 7 years that I've been on this committee, you folks have come before us many times to talk about the importance of rehabilitation and to talk about the work that you've done to actually accomplish a reduction in recidivism. As you look at this legislation, do you have concerns that your mission, rehabilitation and preventing as much as we can repeat offenders from getting out there will be jeopardized in any way?
I think I want to be careful about not giving my opinion, my particular opinion on any, like, I wanted to, I really wanted to come and talk about the operational aspects of this bill, and I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on the feelings of the department as a whole on that particular piece, but I apologize. Is that
Let me
okay?
ask it a different way.
You want to ask
then.
it differently? Okay.
This, I think the idea behind this bill
Yeah.
is to reduce recidivism by punishing people more. In your experience in corrections and your knowledge of the way that policies like this work in other states, does punishing more people work?
That's another personal opinion question, so you don't have to answer that.
I mean, I can speak to, we have many successful programs in our prison right now where we've been very successful in getting people to a place where they are coming back to their communities with skills and futures really for a career. I think that is one of the best things that we do is set people up for better futures, and we are aggressive in our approach with that.
One final question.
You may.
What has been the impact of the budget cuts on rehabilitation and these educational programs?
So that's the impact is really that we've had to reduce the amount of offerings that we have. We had 17 positions just in Division of Rehabilitative Services alone, which is mostly teachers and case managers, and some of our even industries, prison shop managers were cut as well. Again, that all impacts the amount that we can do. I think that there is opportunity when we say, hard labor. To me, I think that we're already doing manual labor in a lot of our different things, our forestry programs. I think that I don't always look at some of these things as positive or negative because depending on individuals, they can benefit from some of these more active roles. They talk about farming. I think those are things that I think has a huge rehabilitative effort, as well as there's a physical component of this that there is some research around helping with mental health and those types of things. It's just making sure that we do it in humane ways and that we're ensuring safety for everyone. So the implementation and how we do this is extremely important, but I think there's rehabilitative aspects of farming, of forestry, of other types of shops that maybe we need to think about. I think when we're looking at behind the walls and creating potentially manual labor type jobs for like through our correctional industries, we don't have any more shop managers or staff to create those programs, which I believe we would need in order to do these effectively and safely, and also to make sure it benefits the state. So if we can do things and create products or do something that could benefit the state, I think that we can create programs that also benefit the individuals. That would be, it's the way we do it, I think, and the way that we implement and ensuring that rehabilitation is taking place.
Thank you. You've testified that you believe, based on your experience in there, that work is good for inmates. That it lowers recidivism. It makes them feel better about themselves. They learn skills. However, it's clear that the department would need to be fully funded to do these things. Is that correct? What you've said. Are you aware that in Norway they did a recent that their recidivism has been cut 20% by instituting work programs like this for all inmates? Are you aware of that? Yep. So is it your experience and knowledge that keeping all inmates, working is better for them? It makes a safer environment and it's better for the people?
Yeah, I think research shows that providing people with purpose is extremely beneficial. It's ensuring that, and again, how we do that and implement that like they did in Norway, and making sure that these are done in very safe, humane ways is paramount. And I think that is possible, and how we move these programs forward, providing them purpose and making sure that they have that purpose is extremely beneficial to them.
Thank you. Representative The share's already gone 5 times. I'll let Representative Newman.
If you look at the bill, on page 2, lines 19 through 30, which defines all the things that are hard labor according to the bill, do they perform most of these things now, or is there, how much of that is different from what the kind of things that they do right now, only we've now said that is hard labor, or am I mistaken about that?
So I would say that they are doing most of this currently in some capacity or another. Yes.
Thank you.
Is it currently statutory mandated that they do these things, or is it just the way the department is running?
Is it in, I would have to check, it could be an administrative rule.
Yeah.
As far
But
as
it's
the
not
status.
sentenced. It's not part of their sentence.
It's not part of their sentencing, no.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I don't know your name, Representative. I can't see your sign.
Lou Jerris, Rep. Jerris from that.
Representative
Yeah,
Jerris.
yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you. So if, in accordance with this proposed legislation, if we had more bodies doing this kind of work, would be able to, and also understanding what was just said about now not having as many as of the vocational teachers and the program managers and the case managers, would we be able to make more products to sell inside that correctional industry if we had more inmates in this labor pool?
So without more shops and staff, I don't believe at this point we would be able to produce more.
I think you said if we had more staff.
If
And
we did.
Oh, if we had more staff and we were able to look at more shops, yes, we could produce more within the prisons.
Okay, just a quick follow-up, if I could, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. And so there are items that are produced inside the correctional industry. How are those items marketed? And do the proceeds go back into the Department of Corrections?
Yeah, so
For instance, a piece of furniture, or it was mentioned in
yeah,
an
so
ashtray or wood.
so all of our profits go, or everything that we make goes back into the general funds.
Okay, general fund, but not necessarily the Department of Correction.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to make clear, right now, with some exceptions for reasons we don't need to get into, everyone is working at this. Every inmate is working at the state prison. Fair to say.
Or enrolled in education. right?
Enrolled in education, some are in specific programs they're taking up that time, but all are doing a yes,
Some kind of work.
yeah, some time to work or specific program that takes their, like, when they enter into the a substance abuse program, that is basically taking up their day.
Yeah.
And so those ones wouldn't work for the time they're in that program, but before they enter the program and afterwards, they would be working, yes.
So to answer the question, everybody's busy, but not everybody's working.
Yes.
Does that clarify that?
In that vein, do you see this legislation as written, meaning that somebody who's sentenced to hard labor under those crimes identified in, page 1, they wouldn't be able to avail themselves of substance abuse program? Is that right?
I think that's calling for a legal opinion because it would be part of the sentence, so.
Sometimes substance use treatment is part of a sentence as well. So I don't know. From reading this, I don't know.
Okay.
Does the bill provide exceptions for medical issues?
Yes.
It does. So would that be considered medical substance abuse?
Yes.
Thank you.
So how many, I'm sorry, follow up. Currently, how many inmates are in the state prison?
We 1982 as of this morning.
Okay. Of those 1,982, looking at the crimes identified on page 1, lines 12 through 22,
Yes.
can you give me an estimate of how many of those 1,982 are serving sentences under those crimes?
1,189.
So a significant majority.
Yes, it's about 60%. Yes.
How many of those 60% are classified as C3?
So I would need to get back to you with that number.
That would be really helpful.
Okay. Yes.
I think, and I apologize to the chair for this, but this may be my last question. How long would it take the Department of Corrections, the prison, to come up with a cost estimate for implementing this program as described in the statute? And I'm not here to rush you.
So I'm hesitating because I feel that one of the reasons probably, I don't want to speculate on what the chair's reasons were, but giving us a 2-year rollout is because we are going to need to look at how we are going to staff work crews like this, because this is a significant policy change for us. Like I don't even, so it's hard for me to say that we could come up with an estimate in a couple weeks like we would for a normal fiscal note. We could probably get a ballpark in a couple weeks. I can talk to our finance people, but without knowing the policy changes that we're going to have to make and how we're going to staff those work crews, I don't know.
Fair enough.
Do you,
Thank
you think
Because
you'd
I'm
have it-
also going to have to do research
do you
about,
think you'd have it by January?
yes.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that's when this bill would come to the floor.
Yes.
And if we wanted to, we could always re-refer
We
it
can-
back to the committee. for
So
further
we
work,
will
so-
just have to sit down and really look at best practices in other states and figure out how we can balance security needs with,
Second.
Yeah, go ahead, go
This
ahead.
was my last question, but this is my second last question.
Okay.
It would be, in a statement, really, it would be very helpful if by January we could get some kind of ballpark figure, because I think
yes.
that this provision is all about money.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dang it, your question made me think of a question, and then you asked another question, and it made me lose my question.
That was my goal.
Yeah, I believe it was. I believe it. Oh, you said this would be a significant policy change for the,
It would for
but
us
at the
to
same
be
time, we heard that everybody's already working. So is it?
bringing
what's-
them outside.
Outside is the part
Yes.
that's going to be different. That's
Correct.
good.
Yeah.
But you could create, for example, the most dangerous of people, I don't want to say offenders because it's not tied to their offense. So we're going to say C5 are the most dangerous. Is that correct?
Yes.
To be let loose.
And those, yeah, and their typical day, just for, so everyone understands, is if they're at the highest classification level,
They're in the
only,
shoe, right?
they are, and they're only out for an hour a day.
An hour
So
a
this
day.
would be a significant change.
So they're not
for them.
working if they're only.
No,
No. So people that are C5, dangerous, serious offenders that potentially have hurt people badly, aren't working. They're like an hour a day. That's it.
for the most part, yes, with
Thank
some
you.
exceptions.
There would be able to do create positions inside the wall for them to work, though. Is that not correct? If you had the staffing to
Yes,
because
yes,
they would need to be obviously supervised. Is that correct? Pretty high.
absolutely, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Did I spur another one? Or are you good?
I'm good.
All right. Thank you for your time today. And
Sorry.
oh, Representative Muse coming in late again.
So one of the things that is part of the bill is that the work is supposed to have a punitive aspect to it. What does that look like in your world? I mean, how do you take a job right now, like somebody might be making license plates or might be making furniture or something like that in a shop inside? How do you create a job on the inside that's punitive, and how do you measure that, and how do you differentiate that
Right.
from the other jobs? I'm struggling with this.
I don't think that we could inherently make a job punitive, because one of the things Director Duffy talked about was different people have different interests when it comes to work. So I think when we talk about jobs where it is really a labor aspect to it, for some people that's no matter if they're forced to do it or not, it's not punitive because they are enjoying a physical job. So I don't know that there's anything inherently that we could do that we would say this is punitive. It's a job. But some people might not enjoy that job, so that would make it inherently punitive.
And one last question.
Sure.
If you have, one of the exceptions is for somebody who might have a medical issue, but
Yes.
there's also part of the bill that requires that there be some type of alternate retribution, retributive sentencing or something like that, that they're, in other words, they just can't go back to their cell and look at their tablets and read books and things like that. There has to be some sort of alternate activity. What does that look like for somebody who's in a mental health crisis or who has a medical issue?
Yeah, so it's going to depend on the individual. Again, is how we address somebody in a having a mental health crisis. Obviously, is going to be different than once we get them out of that mental health crisis. But it's also their skill set. So there's a lot of different jobs within the prison that could make them productive and give them a purpose to support the our operations as a whole. So, for instance, within education or within, we have shop clerks within our shops that they, even people with physical disabilities or can work in a shop as a clerk, and they do great work as a clerk. So it's it really depends on the person's skill set and where they're at. And we try to find jobs. Potentially, they start with something, but if as they do better and their mental health improves, maybe they go to something else, and we kind of move them up through jobs like that.
Thank you.
Now, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the last time. I'm not, you can ask the question, but that's it. Go ahead. But you just got to let us know so she can tell me there's a question. You can ask your questions, but when someone says that's it, and then, wait a minute, go ahead. No, it's fine.
On page 4, it has the punitive, alternative punitive measures and things you can apply. How difficult would it be to follow what says you can do those kind of things? Would that be difficult or easy?
Representative, can you, would you mind just telling the lines that we're referring to?
It starts on page 4, line 4.
Thank you.
It continues on to line 20.
We would do
Yeah. So
non-disciplinary.
yeah. So a lot of
Isn't
these
that the
things.
question that Representative Mies just asked?
I think this question's a little bit different,
Go ahead.
but what I was, a lot of these things that are listed here are things that we would do in punitive measures already. So this is just telling us when another time to use it. I would look at it that way.
Thank you.
So there's nothing novel about any of those, is there?
Not that I see from looking at it.
Thank you. Okay, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
What? Who? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks. In the past, you guys have given us demographics of the inmates.
Yes.
So do you still have that in classification? That's a little different. You have C.
So yes, I could get you a classification breakdown. Would you like
Thank
that?
you.
And an updated demographic breakdown?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
That would be, you're looking for like age, race, gender, all of those is what I can definitely give you a crime breakdown. Yes. Okay. Yes, I will give it all of those. Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak that hasn't signed up yet to speak? Seeing none, I hereby close the public hearing on SB 15. We will, let's see, I don't think we have a time scheduled for our execs. Yeah. Yeah. What time do you have to get? We're gonna reconvene at 12:30 for executive. I wanted to get us out of here early since we didn't, it's not scheduled on the calendar. It just says, there's no time set for the exec, did she?
That's correct.
Can we do those now?
You could just reset.
Yeah, we're gonna, well, no, the public hearing's closed, but we're gonna pick up the execs. Yeah, we have two, I think, and I'm waiting for an amendment, a couple amendments. So I just want to give us a little time.
Could we exec the ones, like, could we exec 767 now?
Which one is that?
That's the one that Representative Murphy.
Oh, I
submitted
haven't
amendment.
had I'll tell you what, why don't we break for 15 minutes? Let me read. I haven't had a chance to read the
Okay.
amendment yet, and then we'll exec that. So we're gonna break till 11:15. I am reopening the executive session on, is it House Bill 767? And I recognize Representative Murphy to make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to introduce and adopt amendment number 2025-3037H. This amendment is the product of our discussion yesterday and the suggested changes. Oh, there we go.
We get into that, into a casual mode. I'll second it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The amendment just is indicative of the language that was discussed yesterday, the corrections we made to a prior amendment. So it's exactly as we discussed, and just took us a little time to get it yesterday afternoon.
Okay, I looked at it. We did discuss removing the reference to that statute, but since you put in addition to, it doesn't matter then, as long as it's clearly delineated, so it's fine.
Yeah, Representative Lynn came over and
Oh, did he?
clarified. Yeah, he
Okay.
and he said, yeah, that's fine. Just change the words to in addition to.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I think it's great.
Okay.
And I encourage the members to all support the amendment. Anyone want to discuss any questions or anything about the amendment? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion is to adopt the amendment.
Representative Rhodes,
Yes.
Representative Devoyd,
Yes.
Representative Morency,
Yes.
the chair votes yes. Representative, the chair. I did it again. The first time. Whoever I am. I had a.
I approve her ambition.
I'm a clerk. Either way, I vote yes. Representative Potuk. I can't say that. Can you say that one more time? Patusik. Representative Gagny.
Yes.
Representative Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Representative Muse.
Yes.
Representative Newman.
Yes.
Representative Murphy.
yes.
Representative Vale.
Yes.
Representative Juris.
Yes.
Representative Shear.
Yes.
Chairman Wright.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries unanimously. The amendment is adopted. I recognize Representative Murphy to make another motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move OTP on HB 767 as amended.
OTPA, yes, thank you.
OTPA.
I second
yes,
that.
correct.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll. The motion is to pass with amendment.
Representative Rhodes.
Yes.
Representative Devoyd.
Yes.
Representative Morency.
Yes.
Clerk votes yes. Representative Patuchek. Representative Gagny.
We.
Representative Harriet Gathright.
Yes.
Representative Muse.
Yes.
Representative Newman.
Yes.
Representative Murphy.
Yes.
Representative Vale.
Yes.
Representative Juris.
Yes.
Representative Shear.
Yes.
Chairman Wright.
Chair votes yes. The motion carries unanimously. Any objection to consent? Seeing none, it will go on the consent calendar, and the bill is adopted. I hereby close the executive session on House Bill 767, and we will reconvene at 12:30. If we have everyone here, then we'll start. If we don't, some people are expected to come at 1. I'm hoping they'll be here a little earlier, and the moment they walk in, we'll start. Thank you.